The defending champions were better than they had been in the Champions Cup semi-final rout at the hands of the same side at the same venue 5 weeks earlier, but Leinster were still the dominant force, underlying their status as the best side in Europe at the moment in front of a record cup final crowd for the competition. The men in blue scored 5 tries in all, orchestrated by another sublime display from fly half Johnny Sexton, whose kicking game was an integral cog in Leinster's success. The Scarlets, who started with a real bite, didn't help themselves as their game plan, which had been so well-oiled for the majority of this campaign, malfunctioned badly after the break. But again, they could have no complaints. They were second best by a distance, even though a couple of late tries gave the scoreline a flattering look at the final whistle. Head coach Wayne Pavac will still consider the season a success. His side again reached the final of the PR14 and the semi-finals of Europe. Leinster's James Lowe celebrates scoring a try, image, PA, but 2017-18 will always be clouded by 2 heavy defeats by a Leinster side who have been out in front as the kings of the continent. Kiwi Johnny McNicholl scored a cup final hat-trick, Hadla Parks had a fine game in midfield and James Davies battled manfully. But the Scarlets' game was littered with too many unforced errors to give themselves a chance. The Aviva Stadium had provided a familiar stage for both sides. It has been a home-from-home for Leinster this season, with the Dubliners having played 3 of their Champions Cup fixtures here on the way to their triumph in Bilbao. Of course, one of those victories was a resounding 38-16 thumping of the West Wallians just last month. In the build-up to the final, Wayne Pavac and his players insisted they weren't nursing any major scars from that defeat, although it is clear the motivation has been there for them to have another crack at the Irish province. The Scarlets promised they would be far more physical this time around, and there was real venom in their early defence. However, a Luke McGrath snipe exposed a gaping blindside hole and Sexton had the Euro Kings up and running with a 7th-minute penalty. The Scarlets' response was swift and they were level within 2 minutes thanks to a halfpenny three-pointer after Rob Evans was tugged back off the ball. Dejected Scarlets regroup under the posts, image, Hugh Evans picture agency. The Wales fullback landed a 45-metre effort soon after, but the advantage was short-lived as Sexton doubled his tally following a period of pressure on the Scarlets' line led by the Leinster heavy artillery. While the Welsh side were enjoying far more parity in the tight exchanges this time around, they were struggling to deal with Sexton's unerring kicking game, with Rob Kearney's aerial acrobatics particularly impressive. Sexton made it 9-6, and with Leinster enjoying the Lions' share of territory and possession, there was an inevitability about the game's opening try after half an hour. Just like the European tie, it came via a familiar route, big men trucking it up off scrum half McGrath, and eventually giant lock Devon Toner found a way to the whitewash. It was exactly what the Scarlets had spoken of not wanting to happen. But that is easier said than done against a pack of Leinster's brutal efficiency. Unlike the European tie, the Scarlets at least found a way of answering back. Giving the ball some width, they made good ground into the rarely visited Leinster 22. McNicholl, who had been a virtual spectator for the opening half hour, made the telling burst, and after Steph Evans and Gareth Davies were hauled down inches short of the whitewash, it was the Kiwi who pounced. The Scarlets suffered a major blow before the break when Aaron Shengler, who had been one of his side's leading performers, limped off with a knee injury, making his participation in next month's Wales tests highly unlikely. Aaron Shengler of Scarlets goes off the field injured, image, Hugh Evans picture agency. Considering how little possession they had had during the opening 40 minutes, the defending champions would have taken a 3-point deficit at halftime. Instead, they headed down the tunnel 10 points adrift. After Halfpenny failed to deal with another Sexton bomb, the Irish province showed the clinical edge that has made them unstoppable this season. They won a penalty, opted for the line-out drive and slick hands freed James Lowe, who dived over in first-half stoppage time, a try converted by Sexton from the touchline. There was clear frustration in the Scarlets, exacerbated when a couple of decisions didn't go their way early in the second period. It needed some desperate defense to deny the Dubliners a third try, then came the turning point. The Scarlets looked to be getting on the front foot, but Scott Williams was penalised for a high tackle on man-of-the-match Sexton. The Ireland 10 lasered the ball 5 metres from the whitewash, and from the resulting line-out, hooker Sean Cronin sniped over. Sexton's conversion made it 28-11, and already it looked like game over. With the Scarlets' game falling apart at the seams, wing Jordan Larmour produced a moment of individual brilliance, winning the race to his own kick ahead before scooping the ball off the turf for Leinster's fourth, and after that the Scarlets were facing another final quarter of damage limitation. They did manage to keep hold of the ball to free McNichol for his second in the corner, but a brilliant break from replacement Joey Carbery saw Jack Conan dive over, with Carbery's conversion taking the score to the 40-point mark. Replacement prop Werner Kruger bagged a late consolation, and in the dying seconds McNichol claimed his hat-trick after a superb burst from the departing Scott Williams. But after dishing out the pain to Munster 12 months ago, the roles were reversed this time around, and it was Leinster uncorking the fizzy stuff to celebrate a fifth title.